Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group, NSF announces reduction in force plans, and a group of senators want TSA to scale back airports. It's Monday, May 12th, 2025. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. Let's dive into the day's top headlines. The National Science Foundation is taking steps to slash its workforce, including reducing the number of senior executive service roles, as well as temporary and non-federal roles, according to an internal memo to staff obtained by FedScoop. The memo was emailed to staff on Friday afternoon by Chief Management Officer Micah Cheatham. It also included plans to require in-person work starting June 16th, and the elimination of the Division of Equity for Excellence in STEM in the next 2 months, which it announced publicly Friday as well. Details of the agency's workforce reduction plans come after its termination of hundreds of grants that don't align with President Donald Trump's policies, such as those that included diversity, equity, and inclusion activities. Amid those actions, Sethuraman Panchanathan resigned his position as NSF's director. Panchanathan had been appointed by Trump during the president's first term. Per the memo, NSF began on Thursday a reduction in force of its senior executive service workforce, which is a designation for federal senior leadership and management officials. Of the 143 total SES roles, including vacant positions, that NSF had on January 20th, just 59 are needed under the agency's new organizational structure and proposed future year budgets. The remaining 84 positions are no longer required to be filled with executives, and NSF will sunset some SES positions and create new non-executive supervisory positions, according to the directive, and all non-continuing SES positions will be sunset by June 30th via a RIF, the memo said. Impacted employees will be, quote, reassigned to fill vacant SES positions that will continue after the RIF, unquote, and those who can't be reassigned to a vacant SES level role will be reassigned to an AD05, GS15, or equivalent position within the agency. In other news, a bipartisan group of senators introduced legislation last week that would scale back the Transportation Security Administration's facial recognition program, giving travelers the right to not have their faces scanned when passing through airports. The lawmakers say their push for the Traveler Privacy Protection Act comes as the Department of Homeland Security component seeks to expand the use of facial recognition at hundreds of airports. Specifically, the bill would require the TSA to clearly inform passengers of their right to not participate in the DHS facial recognition program and bar the agency from providing worse treatment to passengers who choose not to participate. The legislation would also forbid the TSA from storing traveler facial recognition data indefinitely and from using the technology to target people or conduct mass surveillance. Senators Jeff Merkley of Oregon, John Kennedy of Louisiana, Ed Markey of Massachusetts, and Roger Marshall of Kansas are all co-sponsors of the bill. And a press release about the legislation touted support from Senators Steve Daines and Chris Van Hollen, as well as the ACLU, the American Federation of Government Employees, Public Citizen, EPIC, the Project on Government Oversight, and Fight for the Future. Earlier this year, the DHS Inspector General initiated an audit of TSA's facial recognition program. Merkley had previously led a letter from a bipartisan group of senators calling for the watchdog to open an investigation into TSA's facial recognition plans, noting that the technology is not foolproof and that effective alternatives were already in use. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, make sure to visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back tomorrow with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, as always, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.